You're listening to New Youth Radio, a show about global culture and local youth. Hi, my name is Najeli. Each week, we'll focus on a local band or musician and ask them about the global connection. We'll also feature spoken word from Guelph and beyond.
Today on the show we have Susie Pan. She is a very, very special guest because she in fact is our first guest who is not going to sing for us.
You just don't want to hear me sing here.
She's not really a musician and that's not really why she's here, but she has a very, very interesting story and I think a worthwhile story to tell because what she does have in common with most of our guests is that she is a young person and she is an inspiration to other youth. And to the community in general. So let's get started, and I'd like you to introduce yourself, Susie.
All right. So my name is Susie Pan. I just finished my second year at Queen's Commerce. I'm originally from Guelph. I've been living here since high school, since grade 9, and been very involved through my time both in Guelph and Kingston. I'm a social entrepreneur. That's what I really want to like to call myself. I founded a nonprofit called Science Expo when I was in grade 12. I've been working on that since.
So you've had quite a bit of a travel to get to Guelph.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain a little bit of your sort of migratory route?
Yeah, I've been, I think, to 8 different schools, France being my 9th one, 7 different cities. So I was born and raised in China until I was 7 years old. During those 7 years, I did live in Thailand for 1 year. So went to Bangkok when I was in kindergarten, and then came back to China. Then immigrated to Canada, first landing in Toronto. Stayed there for about 1.5 years, and then went to Manhattan, Kansas, where the Yellow Brick Road lies. And came back to Toronto after another year. In the middle of grade 5, moved to Montreal for staying there for 3 years, and then moved to Guelph, when I went to high school. And now I live in Kingston when I go to school, and I'll be going to Paris very soon.
You enjoy traveling?
For sure, and at first I didn't really like it just because I had to move all the time and I had to start over all the time, but now when I think back, I love my childhood because it's so unique and I got to really experience the growth in different neighborhoods and communities.
And what was the thing that sort of held it all together for you, being in, so many different places, Montreal, having a French element to it in terms of language as well, and I'm assuming that when you came to Canada, your first language was Chinese.
Yep, spoke no English, didn't even know my ABCs then. But I guess, first of all, I was more forced to do all this, not really my choice. So I guess my mom just moved a lot and it was really with her and she really helped me adapt to wherever I was. But one thing that really grounded me wherever I moved, rather wherever it be countries or states or wherever, is kind of my Chinese root. And I know deep down inside, I'm very proud to call myself Chinese and I always have that root with me wherever I live. And I think that's always part of my culture and part of my identity.
And I want to go back to something you said before, and that was seeing yourself as a social entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. If you can maybe backtrack a little bit and talk about the Science Expo and how that all came to be.
For sure. So kind of give you a little background. While I was in high school, I participated in science fairs, and that started in the summer of grade 10. And I originally thought science fair was just volcanoes, people driving lab coats, and maybe baking soda and everything, but it's actually really, really cool. So my science fair project was called Solar Juice, and we were experimenting with dye-sensitized solar cells, which in essence was turning fruits into electricity, which I thought was a really, really cool concept. So we actually did research, me and my partner, we did research on dye-sensitized solar cells that was led us to most international science fairs, national science fair, winning awards and scholarships and free trip. For example, my partner got a chance to go to Tunisia to represent our project. We were invited to go to Parliament Hills Canada Day in Ottawa to present our project. So many great opportunities came just for the fact we joined science fair, and not to mention a lot of money came with it as well. So I really want this. We kind of found it pretty late. We only did it twice, once in grade 11, once in grade 12, and you can start doing science fair as early as grade 7. So I know a lot of people do that, but our school they didn't really advertise it very well, and we got so much out of it. So we just wanted other people to know about this opportunity. So after our last science fair competition, when we came back, we were like, so how do we tell other people about it? How do we kind of engage other people into doing more than just classroom science. So we went back to our science fair friends. We were all competitors that year at the Canada-wide regionals, Canada-wide science fair. But when we all went, we approached them with the idea of how about we do an event that kind of tells people about the opportunities we have in science fair and see where that goes. And that actually became my founding team for Science Expo. The first event we did was the day before my prom, and I remember this very well. Very bad idea to do it then. It was a 2-hour event at my local high school, which was Centennial CVI, and we had our teacher there. We had about 200 people drop in, drop out from the local community that involved students, teachers, parents, educators, even homeschool people. And it was very local, low key. We got one speaker coming in from Toronto, just really talking about experience. But from there, we saw a lot of people very interested in this kind of event, and a lot of people were very excited and actually found out very useful information. And they were like, "Let's do science fair next year. How do we get involved?" And doing that right in front of our eyes. So we kind of decided to take it to the next level and do this annual event. So that's kind of how Science Expo came to be. And since then, we've had 3 conferences, the first one being Guelph, the second one being University of Waterloo, and this last one that happened in February 2012 was the Ontario Science Centre. It has grown so much in size. I'm very proud to see what it has become. The team has grown. This past year, we had Nobel Peace Prize winner speakers, we had International Science Fair winner speakers, and we had about 100 people come to Ontario Science Centre. So it's grown quite a bit. I'm very proud to see what it comes, and that's kind of the continuation of my science fair journey, even though I'm not doing science fairs anymore.
So the big question is, why are you not still in the sciences?
Yeah, a lot of people ask me that. My teachers actually call me traitor, so I don't really go back to see them very much. I think so in high school I was very involved in science fair, and that took a lot of time. I think from beginning to end, our science fair project took over 1,000 hours we logged in, and spent a lot of my time doing it, and I loved it. But my other really big passion in high school was something called DECA, and it's basically a business competition that's both national and international, and that kind of was my first introduction to business. For DECA, I also competed internationally twice, and I was a provincial officer, being one of the 6 people representing the province of Ontario on an international stage. So that was a really exciting opportunity. Dedicated a lot of my time doing DECA as well, and I almost flipped the coin between doing science or business. I applied to a lot of engineering programs, applied to a lot of business programs, but I think what really drew me into the business in the end is the interaction with people, and I think that's such a key aspect, the networking part. And for myself, any event I go to, whether it be science fair, whether it be DECA, it's the people that make everything worthwhile. And I found that because in business, one of the key aspects is networking, it's interacting with people, and I really like that aspect. Whereas science is a lot more, you talk to a machine sometimes. It's a lot more analytical, which is also great, but I think my main passion lies in connecting with people. And I think when I made the decision to not do science, I didn't want to give up completely. So with Science Expo, I'm still reaching out to science fair, and last year I actually worked in the University of Guelph lab and doing some science research. So I think there's still a balance between the two, but I think it came down to the fact that I liked working with people more than I like working with the equipment and machines.
Yeah. What is the discipline of science? What does that mean? What does it mean to you? And
so I think the key aspect of what science is to always ask why. And I think that's what I really loved about science. So when we're doing our project, the one thing is, like, sitting in classrooms, you're given the why because you're learning about how everything works. You learn about bonds and chemistry and everything. You're given the why. But in the real world, science is finding out the why and knowing how things work and why that works or why it doesn't work for the most part. So when I was doing science fair, when we were doing data and experiments, nothing ever came the way it's supposed to be. You design an experiment, you do it, you collect data, you're like, what just happened? And then you figure out the why and why it didn't work, and then you go back and you prove it, and you see what you can do to make it better, and you keep doing that and keep doing that. And I think it's a critical skill of always asking why, analyzing the results, and being able to have that discipline, to the patience to be able to, again, keep going and ask the why and until you figure out something, because for the most part it doesn't work out the way you want it to. And I think even in business now, when I say my friends call me a traitor to science, but I think I took away the most important part of science, is to always have the curious mind to ask why and why.
That's a really great way of putting it. And I like the way that you made the distinction between, sort of classroom science,
yeah, exactly,
and the science fair experience, which really is about as you say, experimentation and ultimately innovation.
Exactly. I think one of the key reasons we got involved in the science fair, so in high school you do tons of labs because these labs are designed and been done 10,000 times, and you know exactly what's supposed to happen. And if you don't get data, you get a bad grade. Whereas in science fair, first you do things you want to do, so you pick your own topic, you do your own research, and you're doing research that's never been done before. You're doing research that's actually publishable at a university level and something that's actually exciting. You're discovering science. I think that's the best part about science fair. You're not doing the same experiment that people have done tons and millions of times. You're doing something new, and you're doing something new you're passionate about. You're discovering something that's benefiting the society, and I think that's the key aspect, and that's what really drove me to invest so much time to do a project. And I remember being very excited about the results because we are making new science, and this is actually something very exciting.
Yeah. Now, the question is, do you have to be a really great student to be involved in science
No,
fair?
for sure not. I think that's a misperception. I had the perception that science fair are a bunch of nerds, and I think most people do have that perception when you go to science fair. You expect people in nerdy glasses and stuff, and I promise you it's nothing like that. When you go to a science fair, if anybody has a chance to even go see the public viewing and just kind of ask students about what they're doing, you'll see the passion. You'll see that sometimes people who do the best in science fair are people who don't do well in school because they're bored of the same thing over and over again. They want to do something new. They want to do something innovative. I think it's not, you don't have to be good at science, and to be honest, I wasn't super good at science. My partner was the smart one. I was trying more of doing design, the engineering part, and she was more the science one. But you have to have dedication, patience. Like I said, the whole entire project took us about 1,000 hours. We stayed after school every single day, every lunch. We came in during Easter, every weekend, during Easter, during Christmas, during March break. We spent a lot of time in school doing this science fair. So it's not that you have to be smart, because when we were in grade 10, we didn't understand what like PhD papers meant. We were given a grade 12 textbook. None of that made sense to us, but you have to be willing to learn, and it's something you're passionate about. I think anybody can do that, and it's just a dedication that you have to science fair that makes it possible.
Many of our listeners may be new immigrant youth that may have just arrived and are starting high school. What would you do in terms of encouraging them, or even their parents, in terms of getting involved? Because I know a lot of parents obviously are really wanting their kids to do well at school, and kids want to do well at school and study hard. And what would you say to them in terms of promoting this experience?
First, maybe just a little self-promoting. Get involved with Science Expo, because Science Expo does really. That's one of our goals. We're trying to get you guys involved in stuff that you're interested in that really makes an impact. But I guess more on a personal level, just because I've moved so many times, I think what really helps is having a mentor and having someone to look up to. So throughout my life, I've had a variety of mentors, whether that be students, whether that be parents, or just people I met in the community, and just having someone to guide me. But I think my personal motivations, when I first moved to Guelph, I really knew zero person in this whole entire city and didn't even know Guelph existed, for that fact. But I googled anything I can. I googled about volunteer opportunities in Guelph, and I came across something called Guelph Youth Council, and had absolutely no idea what it was. I didn't know where that place was, but I showed up for my first meeting anyway, and 3 years later I was co-chair of the Guelph Youth Council. So it just was one random Google opportunity, and just really I wanted a chance to know my community, and I thought there was no better way than being involved with the Guelph Youth Council. So if you're a newcomer in the city, it's hard to make friends, and I know that. So why not get involved in the community, and you'll have like a group of people that you can always go to.
Why don't you tell us now a little bit about 2 years ago when you were profiled as a 40 under 40, and what that experience meant to you? And
I think the first was a great honor. I was very, very ecstatic to hear that, and the Guelph Top 40 under 40, that was, I think, the second, third year that was they ran the program, and the first year I knew a couple of friends who won, and I thought, wow, these people are so amazing, like look at all the stuff they're doing. And next year when they notified me, I was first very shocked, very honored, and it's really great. It's not just the honor, just knowing the fact that in my 4 years in Guelph, I did make a difference. It's being recognized, and I have some impact in the city of Guelph. And it was great because it was my first grade 12 year. I was leaving the city, and to know before I left the city that I did make an impact, and to see and then being surrounded with the other top 40 under 40, and I think the youngest person was like 12 years old, and it was just amazing to see the amount of passion that the city has. And you might not think Guelph is the greatest city, it's not the biggest city, but the people are really passionate and are making a difference, and you can see their impact in the city. And
I also want to talk about your ideas around social entrepreneurship.
okay.
Is that something that you're pursuing in business?
So when I first applied for business, my mom was totally against it. She was a scientist. I grew up in science. I did science fair. They're like, why are you giving up? Like, one thing with science fair that's really great is to give you a lot of scholarships, but they only valid if you choose science. So I gave up a lot of scholarships as well when I chose business. And my mom was like, what are you doing business? You're going to be a manager, you're going to be a CEO, but not everybody can do that. You're not going to have a job at the end of this. So that was kind of the perception, and I stuck with the business just because, again, I like the people part, and I thought it was a better fit for me. And once I get to business school, so I've never taken a business course in high school, but once I got to business school, there's a very unique culture within the business school, and I kind of got exposed to the business world. So at Queen's Commerce, there are really 4 streams. There's accounting, finance, marketing, and consulting. And then everything else like HR, IT is all grouped into the other. And you're either in the 4 streams or you're left alone kind of thing. And I think in business, the most popular is accounting, and you could go, you know exactly what you need to do to become a chartered accountant. Your path is set there for you. And I think with the other the other 3 streams, same thing. You know exactly what you need to do. So once you get to business school, get good mark, get involved in extracurricular, go to recruiting session, go network, get a summer internship, 4th year, get a recruiting from the same company, and then work your way up from junior analyst to senior partner, and then voila, life is over. And that was my perception. And I was involved in something called the Impact Entrepreneurship Group in high school after coming back from Shad Valley in grade 11. And that was my exposure to what entrepreneurship was. So entrepreneurship was never been on my mind. I never knew what that word meant until I really enjoyed the Impact Entrepreneurship Group. And I've been with that group for over 2.5 years. And it's the largest Canadian youth organization promoting entrepreneurial spirit among youth in Canada. And I attended their conference. I was on a team, was directing an internship project. And the people that exposed me to who were doing entrepreneurship, people who dropped out of school or who just finished school and just didn't take a job and come to their own thing and not earn money, I was like, why would people do that? When I got to know them and their lifestyle and how every day something different happens, and every day, no matter what happens, you're so passionate about something, that's your drive. And I began to identify myself with these kind of people, with outside the box, outside the traditional route kind of people. So within the Impact Entrepreneurship Group, I've taken on a variety of tasks, organizing a conference, doing a microcredit challenge, and directing internship projects. And through those 2.5 years with the group, it really led me to believe, I know I want to be an entrepreneur. And after hearing the speakers, after knowing the people, I know that's kind of life I want to live, but I didn't know how to live it, and I didn't know how to get there. So going to Queen's Commerce, doing Science Expos, and that I call Science Expo my first social venture, and I don't think it'll be my last. And I got exposed to the whole concept of social entrepreneurship, which is still pretty new in North America. It's actually started in Europe. Social entrepreneurship is basically entrepreneurship for good, and people think that's an oxymoron. Like, people like business people only want money. No, that's not true. Well, most of it is true. In class, you learn everything that has to do with dollar signs and money, but there are people who can use business skills to do good. And I think that's why I went into business, to show that not all business people are money-loving, evil people. That you can use their skills you learn in business, which is people management, which is working in groups, which is knowing how to negotiation, communication, these key skills. You could use that to better society. And if you put that to good use, it's entrepreneurship, and it's creating social impact. And that's how I came to know about social entrepreneurship. I don't know exactly what I want to do out of graduation. I want to be a social entrepreneur. I know that's my destiny in the end. I don't know the path I'm going to get there. Thinking right now, the more I get involved in entrepreneurship, the more conferences I go to, I want to do it right out of graduation, because I think that's when you have the least risk and you have the least liabilities, you have the least assets. If someone sues you, you don't really have anything to be sued about. And I really want to try that. And I think life is about taking the risk and trying to do whatever. If it doesn't work out, great. I got so many more years to find a job and work in the corporate world. But if it does work out, maybe that's the first thing I want to do. So right now, taking the consulting and marketing route in school, but I do think at some point in time, hopefully soon, I want to be an entrepreneur. one thing I really focused on, and I think I'm very proud to say, is that I'm interdisciplinary, and I like the fact that I could bring the science side, I could bring the critical analysis into a business case, and I could bring the business people networking into a science lab. And I think that's the key aspect. People's like, you're doing Science Expo, promoting all these science things, but you're not in science. Are you a hypocrite? I'm like, well, I'm not studying science doesn't mean I don't take away everything I learned from science, and I do apply it to business. And you see, science and business are very, very different. And when I do study them, it is very different. But there are overlaps, and there are the skills you can withdraw from each set and kind of combine them. And that's what I'm very proud to be doing. That I do call myself interdisciplinary because of my science background studying business, and that has given me some of the assets that other commerce students don't. And that's some of the critical analysis and doing how to do research and how to analyze data. That's things you also have to do in business as well. But I had that background in doing research for a couple of years in high school. And I think that's where the future is. It's the interdisciplinary intersection between science, business, arts, whatever it is. I think we need to focus on intersection and kind of the skills you withdraw from each set and see how they can combine together.
I'm sure you've come up with like 1,000,001 different things that you could do. And so really for the Science Expo, your demographic is really our high school students.
Yes.
And are you thinking of doing anything in Guelph again, or where's your next Science Expo going to be?
Science Expo 2013 is taking place at the Ontario Science Centre on the last Saturday of February. Yeah. That is to be confirmed, but we are wanting, so it started as a local event that was kind of a community based, and it still is community based. My roots are still in Guelph. My roots still very tied to my high school because my high school is where it started, so we do recruit a lot of people from Guelph, but I want to make it a provincial event that's more accessible to everyone. And Toronto's about an hour away. It's not too far for travel, and we always do have people from Guelph, and we always do have people from my school just because our roots really did start there. And one thing is we do recruit people for a team. So in the first 2 years we've been doing it, it's just a 5-people team that we all met at Science Fair. And then this past year we hired interns, and we expanded our team to 13 people this past year, and I had a very, very good time working with these people. And next year we're expanding the team to over 20 people. So we are definitely expanding, and it might not happen exactly in Guelph, but there's always going to be presence in Guelph because that's where it started, and it's already part of a history. I do encourage anyone who's listening to definitely come and check out Science Expo 2013. It's going to be a great time. And I think one key aspect I realized in my high school years is that because I really didn't like the small city of Guelph. I really wanted to get out there, and because I had exposure from the science fair, from doing DECA, from Toronto schools, I knew what I was missing, and a lot of Guelph students don't know that. When you're growing up in a small city, you don't know the existence of half of these stuff. So it's a great chance to get out of the Guelph bubble and meet people from Toronto who have so many opportunities given to them, but being a student from Guelph, you don't have that same kind of opportunity. Doesn't mean you can't make them, and it doesn't mean. And that's what I did in grade 12. I actually also found another conference called Back to Business. That was kind of a business conference, the Science Expo version, but for business students. Right. And it's just because I found I had so many opportunities, and like this simple stuff about how to shake someone's hand, how to do networking stuff that's never taught in school, but Toronto people have so many of these opportunities and workshops and speak and conference to go to, but we never do. So I had one in Guelph, and now I kind of really want to bring the Guelph people outside to see Toronto, to see a bigger city, and to see what other schools have to offer, and for them to bring that back to Guelph and make it better.
That would be wonderful, because I think that there's a lot of talent in Guelph, and there are a lot of young people that really want to do things and get involved, but it's just knowing that you can. And knowing that, you know what, you can just make it happen yourself.
Exactly. I think that's what I was living by in high school. I was really frustrated with the fact that I was living in Guelph and I was going to Toronto. And so in grade 11, in then grade 11, I was like, oh, well, I'm going to make a business conference in Guelph so I could go to one, since I don't have to travel to Toronto all the time. I made people from Toronto travel to Guelph. And same with Science Expo. And then one thing I keep doing in high school is I keep Googling opportunities and finding opportunities for myself. So, for example, iSuite, which is an international science fair competition that we went to, I found it by chance on Google. We applied after the deadline, and we still accepted, and we were one of the 2 teams to accept it from Canada to go. Wow. So things like that, like I just literally looked for opportunities and created opportunities myself when they didn't come to me.
Yeah, internet and the web has opened up, your ability to connect with people and to not be afraid to just email people and find people and connect with people across the globe. I'm sure everybody listening is going, yeah, you know what, Cece just sounds like a really self-confident person, but that's not me. I'm shy.
I'm actually really not. If you've talked to me about 5 years ago now, I would not say any of this to you right now. When I first moved into to Guelph in grade 9, I was like, I'm the new kid, and I moved in the middle of grade 9, and people already formed friendship, and they already got to the whole high school transition. I'm just like, well, I've never been to the city and don't know what's doing. So I literally was a quiet new kid in the corner. Didn't do any extracurriculars, didn't do anything, just minding my own business kind of thing. And I think what really changed for me was I joined DECA, and when I joined DECA, I was literally dragged in by my friend and be like, we're doing this. Or like, cool, it's something to do at lunchtime. And through DECA, I did case competitions. I won first at regionals, first at national provincials, and going to international competition. And I was like, wow, I can do this. And I think that really gave me the self-confidence push and to do something I've never thought of doing. And I applied for provincial office. I'm like, no, I'm not going to get it. It's my first year in DECA. I'm a grade 10 student. I'm not going to get it. And it turns out I did get it. And just things, I think a lot of happy accidents happen. But it's just one thing that set it off to another, to another, to another. And it's just taking that first step. I think my first step was doing DECA, or even Guelph Youth Council. When I first joined, I didn't do anything in the meetings. I just went to meetings. But then doing DECA, doing science fair, taking steps. And then today, like, I am proud to call myself a leader, but I would never use that word on myself about 5 years ago.
Well, thank you, Susie. I really like ending on that note. For more information on the Science Expo, visit www.science-expo.org. And now we're going to close with a track called Ru Mengling, Song Dynasty Refix, which is based on an old Chinese poem from the Song Dynasty. And it's by Chinese electronica duo Miss Melody and Mobidextrous.
She